Hi everyone. Uh, just a second. We'll be starting soon. Great.
Hi, Farista.
Hi, how are you?
I am very fine. How about you?
I'm also okay.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So, uh, I had a problem with my Facebook account, so I'm not able to use it right now.
Okay.
But we'll just continue. There are some people who signed up. Some people usually like to watch live on Facebook.
Mm,
Others, yeah, most people usually prefer that.
mm,
But there are a few people who signed up. They might have forgotten to check their emails, but we'll continue because it's still live and there'll be a recording. And some people
okay.
had also shared some of the questions that I shared with you.
Okay.
So just get right to it. So
Oh,
let me
great.
press record. I've already put on the live YouTube. And I think the position I've sat in is not so good for lighting, but I will fix that later.
That's
So,
okay.
yeah, I hope you're well though.
Yes, I am. Uh,
Great.
quite a busy season, but we
Yes,
had
it's
we
busy
had
season.
we had to do this for the community that we love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
given that many of us are last minute people, and maybe there's a reason why we left it to the last minute, we had lots of questions.
Yeah.
Uh, this is a good time to actually, get to it so that whatever questions that people have can get answered so that you're able to file before the system crashes on June
Yeah.
30th. And
Yeah.
then now you have to pay a penalty if you file in July.
Mm,
So yeah, let's get that done. So welcome everyone watching us on YouTube and those who will be watching the recording later. We are happy to have you. And my name is Felista Wangari. I'm the community leader at 52 Week Savings Challenge Kenya, which is a personal finance community. And one of the issues, of course, that gives us a lot of problems is tax. And we are lucky to have experts in the community, including Peter, our resident tax and finance and business finance expert. So, and he told me, we haven't done anything about taxes this month. And yet, many people are trying to file and they could be having questions. So I said, why not? Let's do this so that it's now 9 days to June 30th, which is the deadline. So let's do this today so that you have a few more days to file quickly before, you know, the pressure of the deadline catches up with you. So I really love to work without panic, to work calmly. And I know many of us would benefit from that. Yeah, we don't always have to be on panic mode. So I'm happy that myself and Peter, we found time to be able to do this. And yeah, welcome, Peter, to the session. So Peter, as I said, is our resident finance and tax expert at 52 weeks. It's week 25 now, coming to an end today. I hope your savings are on track. If not, please do update so that you can keep on track and continue working towards your goal. And one of the important things in personal finance is just making sure that you have your taxes filed so that you're not paying penalties, you're not paying fines. So we want you to save that 2,000 or 5% of the tax due that you are going to be charged for late filing or for not filing. We want you to put that into your savings and investments and to grow your money. instead of having, to pay an unnecessary and avoidable penalty or fine. So that's why we are doing this today. And Peter here with us will just give you a brief introduction of himself and what he does. And then this session is just basically a question and answer. Some of you sent questions ahead of time, and you'll get to have a look at them. But if you have any questions, also feel free to drop them. We are live on YouTube. If you're joining on Zoom, you drop them in the chat. If you come across the video later on YouTube, you can also maybe ask us, and we'll find a way to get you answers. So karibu sana, Peter. Please introduce yourself for people who uh, may not be aware of you. I know there are always new people coming on board. So
Yeah.
do introduce yourself, tell us what you do, how you can help us with our tax issues, and then we'll get right into the questions.
Oh, great, great. Yeah, I was trying to. There's a person who was asking me for a link to the meeting. That is
Oh,
what I was
okay.
sharing. Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah. So I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Loud and clear, yes.
Oh, great. Yeah. So my name is CPA Peter Ndirangu. I am a finance and tax expert. I support businesses, both large and small businesses, to be compliant and also to plan their business finances so that they can uh, grow and scale right. And I'm happy to be part of 52 Weeks Saving Group community. And I'm looking forward to having a good time of answering the tax questions because I know if I can answer as many as I can, then I will have uh, less inboxes because I can tell you for sure I get so many inboxes, and sometimes it is so hard to address all those inboxes. But when we have such kind of a platform where we can address all questions, then I am happy because I am able to empower more people at a go. Yeah, so I am set to answer all the questions. And I don't know whether you'd want me to make some opening remarks on what I
Feel
think
free,
is
Peter.
important.
Yes.
Yeah, so tax is a universal obligation that we are all expected to comply. And that means that it is not it is not a unique demand to a particular person, to a particular business, or to a particular group. Taxation is a demand that is placed on every citizen. And that means that we all have an obligation to comply. And in the context of Kenya tax regime, every person, as far as you have a KRA PIN, and you could be a natural person, that is a human being. For example, if you are an employee or you run a business as a person, as you, as Wanjiko, as Kamau, that means you have a PIN and you are a natural person. You could also be an artificial person, like a company who has a PIN. And that is why I am saying every person, whether natural or artificial, as far as you have a KRA PIN, there is a demand on you, even in the context of Kenya tax regime, that you must file your returns. But maybe it is important to point out at this point that as a citizen, you have two obligations. The first obligation is to file your returns, and the other obligation is to pay your taxes. Filing your returns and paying your taxes are two different things. Only that filing of the returns starts and then you pay your taxes. And that means that even those who think they don't have any tax to pay because probably they were not engaged in any gainful business or they were not employed or probably they were just not working at all. Maybe they took a study leave or they are students. Then for them, what they will not do is to pay tax because they did not have income in the particular year of income. But filing of a return is a demand that is placed on everyone who have a KRA PIN. That is whether it's a natural person, in case of a person like me, Peter, and Ferista, and in case of an artificial person, that is when you talk about a company. And yeah, so that is the first thing. And that means even those who go abroad and they have KRA pins, in as much as I know and I will be explaining this, in as much as you probably are not a resident in a particular year of income because you've not been to Kenya, you've not been earning money in Kenya, and but you have an active KRA pin. As far as you have it, you need to file to maintain your compliant position. Probably what you may not do is to pay taxes because you are not a resident. You don't meet the definition of a resident in the Income Tax Act, and probably also bearing to the fact that you've been taxed in the country that you reside. Yeah, so I thought that is very important to mention. Today I met a very interesting case. Apparently, they wanted me to support them in filing employment returns, normal PAYE returns. And I thought they had not filed their returns since 2010, yet they have been employment. Yeah, so when I told them that all they need is to file the returns and they will benefit from the amnesty, they don't have to worry about the penalties. So that was the reason why we had an engagement. But before we finished our engagement, she told me I have a company that we registered in 2000. But they registered the company, but due to some reasons, they were not able to operationalize the company. She told me there were some disagreements with the directors, but she's the one who carried the burden. So the company has been dormant. They took the KRA pin because they needed it to open a bank account, but they had never filed. And for her, she thought that this was not really important because the company was dormant. But again, I had to remind them or to remind her that as far as a company exists and it has a PIN, it may not pay taxes, but there is another primary obligation, which is filing. Yeah, so I think I can put on hold there so that I don't preempt. Probably in the when answering the question, I
Yes.
will mention anything that I think is important.
True. Wow. Yeah, very important points there, Peter. And you've even started with the very first thing that, someone sent in saying that, tax returns are just for employed people.
Yeah,
Some people are like, my employer, like the person you've referenced right now, my
yeah.
employer pays the tax, so I don't need to file.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm abroad, I don't need to file. I don't earn much money. I run a small business. My business is not registered. So there are all these people thinking I'm an influencer, I'm a freelancer, I'm
Yeah,
a
mm-hmm.
consultant. There are all these people thinking they don't need to file. And
Yeah,
you mentioned students, and I remembered some students are actually in gainful business. Some
yeah,
are even employed.
mm,
So I guess either way, if you have a PIN and you have an income, you need to file something. Either you're filing nil or
yeah,
you're declaring your income and taxes and making sure the taxes are paid, and of course filing the return.
Yeah.
So um, there are a few other basic questions that came up before we go into deeper issues. Like some of these people who haven't filed for 10 years,
Yeah.
like where do I even file? Where do I start? What do I need?
Yeah.
I forgot my password. I don't remember which email I used. Issues around not knowing how to file. Um, should I go to KRA office to file, or do I do it in my house or in the office or in a cyber? Issue about, yeah, let's start with those ones.
Yeah. So those are so many questions altogether, but
Yeah,
definitely they are related. And
yes.
the first thing that I want to mention is most people fear complying with tax demands because of ignorance. Allow me to call it so.
Mm,
Because sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean that because you are in you are in gainful income, you actually have to pay any tax. But remember, if you don't comply and KRA come to you because you are non-compliant, then it also comes with a cost. But
mm,
remember, even and maybe I can mention this so that I help in a
yes,
deeper way, um,
yes.
not still restricting myself to the question.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if you have any income,
Mm,
if you have any income, the
mm,
expectation is that you will declare that income
yes.
and pay any tax due. I know there
Yeah.
are those, and the Kenyan tax regime,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you are a small business, allows you to
Mm,
pay income tax either annually or
mm,
monthly. The
mm.
monthly regime is the turnover tax,
Okay.
and turnover tax is charged at a rate of 1.5% on
Mm-hmm.
the gross sales. And
Yes.
you would be surprised, assuming you make turnovers of
Mm-hmm.
300,000 per month,
Mm-hmm.
if
Mm-hmm.
you calculate one point, if you calculate
Mm-hmm.
1.5% of 300,000, that
Mm-hmm.
would be around 4,500.
Mm-hmm.
True or false?
True.
And that would be your tax expectation. And I'm just assuming, I'm just imagining, why would it be difficult to you? How would it be difficult for you to pay 4,500 as tax if you are making turnovers of,
Mm.
let's say, 300,000?
Yeah.
However, it is also true that there are businesses that maximizes on volume because their
Mm.
profit margins are so low. And that means
Yes.
turnover regime may not work so well for you because it does not allow you to account for expenses. And again,
Mm.
the same tax laws allows you to decide for yourself whether you want to be in
Mm.
the turnover tax regime or the annual
Mm-hmm.
regime. So if you belong
Mm.
to the annual regime,
Mm-hmm.
the tax law only demands you to pay tax on profit. So
Mm-hmm.
that means you will do your calculations, you
Yeah.
accumulate or you sum
Mm-hmm.
all your income for the year, then you
Mm.
account for all your expenses.
Yes.
If you are not profitable, you don't pay any
Mm.
tax.
Mm.
If you are profitable, you are only
Mm.
paying 30% on the
Yeah.
profit. That means
Yeah.
you have the 70% to pay
Mm.
yourself, maybe some
Mm.
dividends if you want to, or even to
Mm-hmm.
put back to the business and expand.
Yes.
So
Mm.
there is no reason for anyone to say
Mm-hmm.
that if I pay taxes, I will close my business. There is no reason at all. And
Yeah.
when it comes to small businesses, the current tax regime gives a relief to every resident. Most people think that personal tax relief is only available for those who are in employment. But the truth
Mm.
of the matter is, personal tax relief is available for every resident Kenyan.
Mm-hmm.
The personal relief, as we in the current standing, is 28,800. That means as
Yes.
far as your profit is
Mm-hmm.
below 288,000, you
Yeah.
don't pay any tax.
Yeah.
If you are profitable, that
Mm-hmm.
means you are also cautioned with a tax relief of
Yeah.
28,800. And you can
Mm-hmm.
imagine that means for small businesses, even if you will pay tax, you probably be paying the balance of tax. So for me, I
Yeah.
think it's really just appreciating knowing what are the opportunities to actually optimize on your taxes so that you don't pay so much to uh, deny your business the much needed liquidity, and you also don't fail to do the right thing and deny your business an opportunity to scale and or get yourself into trouble. Do I need to visit KRA to file returns? You don't need to visit KRA to file returns. In the current time, you can even get into YouTube and just Google, how can I file my returns? Whether nil returns, whether employment returns, or even business returns, you will get
Yeah.
that. And you
Yeah.
should be able to follow through. So you don't need to visit KRA to file returns. I have seen people visiting KRA to file nil returns. How do you
Yes.
do that? And I will be sharing a procedure, for instance, with you after the
Yeah.
class or
Yeah.
after we are done with this on how to file
Yeah.
the returns, all types of
Mm-hmm.
returns, whether it is nil returns, employment returns. I will make sure I share that so that you can share with the community. But the truth of the matter is, you don't necessarily have to visit
Mm-hmm.
KRA.
Mm.
Instead of visiting KRA, you would even rather get someone to actually assist you because sometimes you waste so much energy going to KRA. You spend the whole day probably lining up for the service. But either way, there is always a way out. There's a way you can actually do it by yourself. If
Mm.
you can't remember your
Yeah.
password, because you definitely need to log in to iTax for you to file your returns. All you need to do is to forget password. Once you log into iTax and you enter your PIN, and for those who can't remember their PIN, KRA have developed their systems, and today there is an option where you can retrieve your PIN for the purposes of logging into iTax using your ID. So once
Yeah.
you put in your ID, the ID will populate the PIN. Though for the purposes of data protection, you may not
Mhm.
see the whole PIN.
Yes.
But
Yes.
once the PIN is populated, you just forget password, and the password will be sent to your email, and that will allow you to set up and log into iTax and do your filing. So I don't know what is it that I have not tackled. I have tried as much.
Yeah, you have given in detail, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for those who may have forgotten the basics or may not have interacted, maybe you're Gen Z and you're realizing about tax for the first time. Maybe you have been uh expected to file your returns for a while, but you never really got round to it. So just some basics to help you with some common issues. Then a few other basics. Someone is trying to file nil, but the system is not allowing her to file the nil.
Mm.
And then someone is asking also what happens if you don't file, and also Yeah, let's go with those two first. Someone trying to
Yeah.
file nil, but the system not allowing that, and
Mm.
someone who is like, like if I don't file, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, so if you don't file, let me start with the easiest. If you don't file
Okay.
your return, number one, you will be breaking the law. And currently, if you fail on your obligation, because there's always a penalty. The penalty for non-filing for uh, income tax individuals, it's currently at 2,000. So if you don't file by deadline, there will be a penalty on your ledger at 2,000. And sometimes it is not even about the money, because I have also encountered a case where someone failed to do what they ought to do, and they wanted us to do everything so fast because they needed a tax compliance as soon as yesterday, as they say.
Yes.
And we were actually not able to deliver because the tax compliance was needed like in an hour time. KRA systems were down, and when they came back, there was a problem still with clearing the penalty even after paying. But the key point is if you fail into complying, there will be a penalty in your ledger, and until you clear that penalty, you will not be able to get a tax compliance, which is a very key document, whether you are looking into applying for tenders or just normal opportunities. Because sometimes we ask for this clearance certificate. Number two, the question that I think that is what you asked first. And I don't know whether I got it very clearly. Maybe you can bring it up again.
Someone trying to file nil,
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's enough.
and they're not able to, like the system is not accepting.
Good. Let me answer
What
that.
could be the problem?
Yeah, so the system will never accept you to file a nil return. Number one, if you are employed, even if it was for only 1 month. As far as you are employed, whether you are employed for 10 days, for 5 days, and there was a payroll process from whoever you related with and gained some income, the system will not accept because it acknowledges that an employer submitted a pay return with your PIN quoted in the payroll processes. So it won't allow, and that means you have to file your return and declare that income. It will also not allow nil return if you hand a withholding certificate. A withholding certificate may not necessarily arise from consultancy. It may also arise from some of these investments that we engage in. Let's say you have a fixed deposit account,
Mm.
or you have or you earn some interest from some savings scheme that we call unqualified. Yeah. So if you are in such kind of a situation, there will be a withholding certificate. I've even seen a withholding certificate of as little as 10 shillings. And that blocks you from filing a new return. But the solution to that is very simple. Um, and the good thing with ITAX, if you attempt to file the return, nil return, and it refuses, quote unquote, it will tell you why. It will tell you you cannot file nil return because you have employment income, or it will tell you you cannot file nil return because you have a withholding certificate. But those would be the main reasons.
Thank you so much, Peter. I think we'll come back to that because there are some people who talked about money market funds, they are unable to file the withholding. So we'll get to that. Welcome, Sammy, and I see you asking, kindly explain how one goes about tax amnesty application. Maybe Peter, you can talk about that.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. And tax amnesty is basically forgiveness of tax debt, specifically interest and penalty. And that means tax amnesty does not cover the principal. So if all your problems are interest and penalties, then tax amnesty will sort that, but it has a capping of up to December 2023. So anything backdating from December 2023 backward to immemorial, the tax amnesty will sort that out. And this is basically like sorting everything for you. Because apart from VAT, which we file monthly and pay as you want that we file monthly, any other tax is not due because the income tax for 2024 is due that year, the June. Hiyo ndio deadline. That means even if you've never filed your return since you took the PIN and you don't have pay as you earn and VAT obligation in your PIN, that means you will clear everything, your ledger will be clean and you get a tax compliance certificate. Now, if let's say you have penalties, interest, and principal tax, the condition to have forgiveness of this debt, whether it is 10,000, 1,000, or even a million, it is to clear the principal tax. If you clear the principal tax by that year, June, the amnesty will apply automatically. You don't need to apply for tax amnesty. All your focus should be is to clear any principal tax. If all your problems are penalties and interest, you don't need to apply. You can sit assured that by 30th June, all those penalties and interest will have cleared. The iTax system have a self-clearing system or mechanism. You don't have to go to KRA. You don't have to apply anything. But if you have principal tax, you have to make sure that you clear that to benefit from amnesty.
Great. Thank you so much, Peter. And Sammy, I hope that is clear. Once you file your returns, you make sure you pay any taxes due or sort out any disputes, because sometimes there are disputes around taxes due. Just make sure you pay any taxes, make sure you sort out any disputes, make sure you file all the returns, and any penalty that was applied for your previous years up to 2023, it will be erased automatically. You don't have to apply. I remember back in the day, like, people had to say, oh, you had to like apply for a waiver and convince
Mhm.
KRA that you are
Yeah.
sick or whatever
Mhm.
reason you could give. But for now, as long as you do the things that they have laid out for you, then that is applied automatically. Sammy, if there's still any issue with that, please do let us know. But I hope so far it's clear. So thanks so much, Peter, for that. And now we can get into some tax obligation questions. I've seen many people, including this one, who have wrong rental obligation when you're trying to file. Sammy will get to that. Why am I being asked to pay rental income of 21,000, yet I don't have any rental property? What do I do? So if for such a person, how can we help them?
Yeah, so maybe I can answer that very fast. I know there are cases where we had to. I know I have encountered two scenarios on these erroneously ended rental tax obligation. There was a time there was a time there was no restriction on the rental income. I don't know when you try to file your returns. Essentially, when you attempt to file, the only obligations that will populate down are only obligations that you've registered to. And that means if you don't have VAT obligation, if you try to file, it will actually tell you you don't have this obligation. So there was a time if you attempted to file a rental income return, whether by mistake, let's say instead of choosing a resident individual, you by mistake choose in the drop down rental income, it will still go through. And if you're filing new return, you know you are doing it very fast, and you end up
Mhm.
making a wrong fast filing of rental income, and that created an automatic registration to the rental income regime, even if you did not have rental houses, because rental income obligation, it is basically an obligation for landlords. So if you're not a landlord, you have no business having a rental income obligation in your PIN. Again, there are also those who probably got it done by people who don't understand what they are doing. You know, nowadays we
Yeah.
have these cybers where, as far as you know how to go through a mouse and you don't have any background on knowing what you are doing, you add that obligation unknowingly. And there was also a time where KRA would do some investigation, whether they got it right or they got it wrong. And they will tell you that according to the records that we have from Kenya Power or from wherever, you have rental income, and sometimes they would add rental income obligation. But irrespective of how you got in yourself into being deemed as a landlord, because if you have rental income, someone is deeming you as a landlord. If you are not a landlord, all you need to do is to write formally to your tax station. If your tax station is north of Nairobi, they are located at Times Tower. If your tax station is those, if you want to know your tax station, you just check your PIN certificate. You just uh, get your PIN certificate, and you will see station. It is part of the details. So you need to write a form or letter requesting for cancellation of that obligation. And to make it easier for yourself, you can swear an affidavit with a lawyer.
Mm.
An affidavit will cost
Okay.
you like 500 or 1,000. Then you can accompany that with a letter to KRA requesting for cancellation of that obligation. If they will want to engage you further, maybe on some documents that you need to provide, then you can provide and start your journey to canceling that obligation. The danger of filing nil return on rental income when you know vividly you are not a landlord is that it puts you in a prison where you have to keep filing returns you should not be filing, and it will also somehow create a long picture to KRA, because they will be wondering who is this landlord who is filing nil returns every month. And that means that exposes you, and it also exposes other things that you do that has nothing to do with this obligation that was added erroneously.
Oh, thank you so much, Peter. Yeah, I do agree. And even your mentioning of the tax stations has reminded me someone was asking where their tax station is and how they can contact them. And it's good that you've explained how to go about that. There's another question from Sami about tax exemption
Yeah.
requirement. Um, the deadline that was put to the organizations that have exemption certificates. Yeah, maybe you can talk about tax exemption and any emerging news that have come around that.
Yeah, so I would want to believe he's talking about the tax exemptions with regards to NGOs, that is non-government, non-profit making organizations, and the the Tax Amendment Act of 2023 uh, brought in with it some guidelines on the new exemption rules, and KRA released a memo, not let me not call it a memo, but a circular with guidelines to that effect. And I'm 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 processing, or I think if he can get access to these guidelines, it speaks to the requirements and what those who already had need to do to get a renewal for those that had expired. I think that will come in handy. So probably what I would advise is if you log into KRA website, you check in into KRA website, you should be able to get that guideline on exemption. But if you don't get it, we can still follow up on it after this meeting. And probably if there is anything that you don't understand, though they are quite straightforward requirements, then I can always explain on that.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think was there some sort of deadline?
Uh, Not really. Okay, I know there are those that had been cancelled.
Okay.
I may want to really confirm that. Let me not comment on it.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
Though I believe if we can get the circular or the
Mm,
guidelines which are available in the public
mm,
domain, then we
mm.
can get that information.
Okay. Yeah, Sammy, see if we'll see if we can get the guidelines. If not, yeah, we will follow up and see what how you can be helped. So Peter, we continue with the obligations. Someone is in business and is asking what are the tax obligations for a registered business name that is trading in non-VAT goods. Most of the sales are invoiced through e-teams. Before we get to that, I've seen Sami has added some context that the organizations with tax exemption, the requirement was to meet and submit documents by 18th June, which I suppose is okay. Sami, I'm not sure what is this a question or do you want just people to know about it? It's not really clear. Oh yeah. Oh, you want people to know. That's okay. Yeah, it's good for
Thank you
people
for
to
that.
know. Yeah, so that those who are in the dark can do something about it. Thanks a lot, Sammy. So just coming back to the obligations, what are the obligations for a registered business name trading in non-VAT goods? Most of the sales are invoiced through e-teams.
Oh, great. Yeah, so uh, if now I would like to start by mentioning that if you are running a business as a business name, that means you are running your business as a sole proprietorship, which is no different from you as a person. And that means all your tax compliance or tax demands or obligations are on your personal PIN. So if you are dealing with non-VAT goods, that means VAT is not an obligation that you are required to adhere to, even if your threshold meets the threshold of VAT registration, which is 5 million per year, and or 416 or thereabout per month. That means irrespective of your turnover. VAT is not an obligation that you are required to oblige to under the VAT Act. So majorly, your tax obligation will be income tax, which is the primary tax obligation, and you can choose how you want to pay your income tax. You can choose to be paying it monthly. You can choose to be paying it annually. If you pay it monthly, that means you will register for TOT, and you will be paying tax at 1.5% of the gross sales or the gross or all the invoices you have invoiced, whether you've been paid or not, because the tax point for sales from a tax perspective is the area of between issuing an invoice and getting a payment. So as far as you've issued an invoice, the assumption is you've already made a sale. Yeah, but if you want to file your taxes annually, then that means all you'll be required is to do your books, draw your profit and loss account, and deduct all your expenses from the accumulated from the income aggregate and pay tax on the graduated scale. For and remember that you are entitled to a tax relief of 28,800. That means if you get a profit of let's say 300,000, whichever whatever tax will arise from that profit, you will set off or you are allowed to set off with the personal relief and only pay the difference in tax. I think that is important. So basically, that would be your major tax obligation. If you have employees and you've maintained a payroll for them, there will be an expectation that you register for pay as you earn on your personal PIN, and I'm wondering why you would want to be an employer on your personal PIN. Those are so much demands on your personal PIN that owns some titles, owns some land, is in several shamas, is all those things. So unless the business is very simple, I don't advocate for running sole proprietorships. A company is better because it is a separate legal entity and you can focus it to running that business. Yeah, so majorly uh, those will be your tax obligations. Only that if you have employees and you maintain a payroll for the employees because these are they are salaried, then you need to register for pay as you earn and be filing for those employees in terms of deducting and paying on a monthly basis on or before 9 of the following month.
Yeah, thank you so much, Peter. And I see someone asked a follow-up on I know TOT is simpler for many people uh, because I see people saying, I don't keep records. I don't, they don't have a lot of structure in their business. So
Yeah,
perhaps TOT is easier, though then that means you don't get to, deduct your expenses and all that.
yeah,
Anyway, let me just read out the questions. As a business person, are you supposed to pay tax on revenue, profit, or income? What if you don't pay yourself a salary? What if you made losses? So you've touched on some of these things already, but yeah,
yeah.
just briefly.
Yeah, so I think I've answered all those
Mhm.
questions.
Mhm.
So uh, if your business is not profitable, it will be a wrong move to register for turnover tax because that means you'll be paying tax on capital, which is against the maxims of running in a business. If you pay tax on capital, that means you are depleting the stock of your business and you may not thrive under such practice. So, unless your business is profitable, you should not even think about TOT. It is just not suitable for you. You should only think of TOT if your business is breaking even. Yeah, so then Well, the other question that I've been asked is that you also don't pay tax on loss, eh? So if you are making losses, no one expects you to pay tax on a loss unless ignorantly you register for TOT, because TOT does not care whether you are making profit or losses. But if you do your returns annually, in that case, you don't pay any tax on loss. There was a time there was a legislation ilikuwa inaitwa minimum tax that
Yes,
required
yeah.
people to pay tax even when they are not making profits. But
Mm,
we are glad the judges at the Supreme Court argued that it goes against the spirit of any driving business, because if you pay tax not on profit, that would mean that you are basically eating into your capital, and
exactly.
that would also mean killing the same business that should be expected to grow and bring tax later on when a break-even point is reached.
Mm. Yeah,
Mm.
thank you so much, Peter. Those are good things for people to know because tax is really a mystery, especially for many business owners who have to figure it out. And
Mm.
we thank experts like Peter who are available to help us figure out exactly, when it's PAYE, you're like, my employer is already deducting, I'm sorted. But as a business owner, you have to figure out a few things.
Yeah.
So it's always helpful to talk to people like Peter to help you figure out what makes sense for your business and what is required by law and how to be compliant. Another one is I run a small baking business. The business doesn't make much money. I don't even pay myself, but I pick up some money from the business to pay things like rent. I don't keep records so well. Am I supposed to pay tax? And I'm barely surviving. I can't afford to pay any taxes right now. Maybe when my business grows. What do you say to that kind of person? And I know uh,
So,
business not making much money could
mm,
be relative because maybe the person is within the tax threshold, but the assumption is that, I need to be a billionaire or a millionaire before I start
yeah,
paying taxes. So maybe, you can respond to this, Baker.
yeah. So again, I would like to mention that we need to change our attitudes when it comes to tax matters, and if the tone from that question is really a micro small business that is making very little profit. They are just making small money. They are not making so much. Then that would mean that even if you filed your return, you will be shielded by the personal relief. So you don't have to worry. I believe that most small businesses would make a profit of less than, let's say, less than 24,000 per
Mm,
month,
mm,
because I know that there are businesses that don't make so much because they are
yeah,
small. So if
true.
your business is making a profit, you deduct the business expenses and you're only left with less than 24. Let's say you are only left with 24,000 per month.
Mm,
And that is what you pick to pay your rent and to struggle.
mm.
I'm not talking about stock, I'm talking about profit.
Yes,
So if
yes.
you make a profit of 24,000 per month and less, do you know no one expects you to pay any tax as far as you are running that as a sole proprietorship business? Because the tax expected for that is 10% of 24,000, which is
Mm,
2,400. Personal
mm,
relief per month is
mm.
2,400. So if you
Yeah,
deduct that, you get zero. And I
yeah.
think that most of the SMEs fail to comply because they think it is too difficult to comply, and they also don't understand how the tax process works. But
Mm,
basically, if you know what you need to do, there is no reason why you should not do it. The danger of not doing the right thing is that it exposes you to tax audit.
mm,
If you find yourself in tax audit, someone will want you to explain even monies that were not income. And I can
mm.
assure you, in the process of explaining even that which was not income, uh, you'll find yourself in so much trouble that you
Mm.
could have avoided. We are also living in a regime of data exchange. I know there was an uproar with the finance bill of 2025 because it was
Yes.
suggesting to amend an article that would allow KRA to access data. But I can
Yes.
assure you, even if that access is not available, if you are under investigation, KRA
Mm,
can still find a way of getting data exchange. You don't have to get data on whether you are in business or not by just looking at your bank account. You also get these products that you sell from somewhere. So
yes.
there is a lot of way of getting information. But my key point is the fact that the Kenya tax system is a self-assessment system that allows you to declare what you want or not to declare or just sit and wait for what will happen. You don't have to do that, especially if you have a vision, you want to grow your business, you want to scale it up. Just make sure that you do the right thing. And if your business is really small and making small profit as you point out, you would actually realize that you don't have to pay any tax, yet you can comply. Or if you have to pay, you probably pay very little tax, not even exceeding 10,000 per year. So again, I would still insist, just focus in doing the right thing. Nil return is for a dormant business. Nil
Mm,
return is for a student. It is for maybe a housewife or a house husband.
mm.
Someone who is
Yeah,
not
they are
doing
there.
anything.
Yes.
They could be there if for some reasons or another. But my key point is you don't file any return if you earned something.
True,
Yeah,
true.
even if for a whole year you only earned maybe for 1 month, you cannot file any return. What you should file is the actual return. If it is a profit return, then you pay tax on profit. If it is a loss return, you file that loss position, which will not expect you to pay any tax because you didn't make profit anyway.
Yeah, thanks for that, Peter. And I love that, you're really explaining for people to know, even if you're in business, just get your act together. If it feels confusing, people like Peter are here for you. They understand business, they understand the tax regime. So, and they are able to help you file. Yeah. Filing doesn't necessarily mean that, now you have to pay money, which, like, there's a process to it. Because if you're not making much money, like, there's a specified taxable income. So if you're making less than that, then all you're doing is just meeting your obligation to file your returns, and you're not required to pay any money that, you're not supposed to pay. So don't be afraid. Look for, I know as an individual, it might be very intimidating and scary and
Yeah.
fearful.
Mm.
But if you look for an expert like Peter, you can
Yeah.
get the support you need to be compliant, and it will give you peace of mind. You won't have to worry because KRA would come and do an audit even 5 years down the line, and you need to produce all those records and justify yourself, and yeah, you don't want to be in that situation. So just get help as early as possible, so that you can have peace of mind. You don't have to worry. Peter,
And imagine, maybe let
let's
me let me give a scenario just to just to get the fear out of people. Because
Okay.
actually, most people fail to comply because they fear.
Yes.
Assuming you are making a turnover, your business is small, you are calling it micro, meaning
Mm.
that maybe per month you are making sales of 100,000.
Mm.
If you registered for turnover tax, how much will KRA be expecting from you?
Mm.
1.5%
Yeah.
of 100,000, that is
Mm.
1,500.
Yes.
And you will pay that.
Mm. Peter, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How about you?
Okay. Yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, great. I hope you've had my the illustration I was giving, and that's
Yeah,
all.
the last thing you were saying was around 1.5 of turnover tax over 100,000 being 1,500, which is doable.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So yeah, there's no need to fear. I think people imagine now KRA will expect you maybe to pay 70,000 from your 100,000, and you'll be left with nothing, or expect you to pay 30,000. So yeah, if you get to talk to someone like Peter, you'll get a better understanding. There's no need to fear. And then VAT and e-teams are a major issue. And I think we had discussed we need to have like a separate session on this,
yeah,
but perhaps you can talk about it. You mentioned something about the VAT special table, and someone had said, I don't use e-teams to raise invoices. Is it a problem? Is there a penalty for not using e-teams?
yeah.
So,
So, uh, thank you very much for. I think what we were doing previously is what I would call meat, but now we are into the bones.
yeah.
Yeah, so I know VAT special table has been really an issue to most business people who have VAT obligations in their pins. But VAT special table is just a tool that KRA uses to populate in a system or to mark those who are not VAT compliant. What are major non-VAT compliant aspects? Number one is if you don't onboard on eating. Yeah. The Finance
Yeah.
Act of 2023 demanded that all businesses must onboard on eTIMS. The only way to generate an eTIMS compliance invoice, it is when you are on eTIMS. So that means that if you are not on eTIMS, you are non-compliant and you are a candidate for being put into the special table. If you are put into the special table, you are flagged for VAT non-compliance. Number one, you cannot file your return. And that means number two, you cannot trade with others
Mm.
because they will get a signal that you are not compliant, and they will also not be able to claim input tax for any sale that you've made to them. So they will run away from you. And that means you will also not be able to continue doing business. The other thing is you file your returns well, and there is a VAT payable, but you decide not to pay to probably take some time and pay maybe later when you are comfortable. But you need to understand that we actually don't pay VAT. VAT is limited and not paid. That
Mm.
VAT you are expected to pay KRA, pay quote and quote. You are not paying, you are remitting because VAT is a consumption tax. If I go to the supermarket and buy some sugar or some bread or some assorted goods, they will charge me VAT. So that means when they are filing the return, this VAT they are remitting to KRA, they are not paying. They are just remitting. It is me who is paying VAT, but them they are remitting. And that is why the law does not really create that opportunity for you to decide when to remit VAT or not, because this money is not yours. You charged someone. You should have charged them 100, but you charged them 116. So basically, if you don't pay, yet you have deducted people, you've charged VAT, then you will be put into the special table. It is just a group, ni kama a club of all those non-compliant, and the system is coded to detect you. So you can't file returns. You can People cannot claim using your PIN because it has been flagged for irregularities, but that is the case. So there are things that you could do so that you don't get yourself into VAT special table, and there are also things that you should do to opt out of the special table if you are in the special table. And I think I wouldn't want us to do that now. Now that we had mentioned that we do a session specifically on VAT compliance to talk about all those issues, including the VAT special table. So VAT is not an obligation for everyone. It is a secondary tax obligation. And that means that not everyone is expected to pay VAT. The decision tree for VAT has two steps. The first question you need to ask yourself to determine whether VAT is something you should even think about or not is number one question is, am I trading invertible supplies? If the answer is no, you don't even have to think about it. You don't go to the next question. You stop at that point and you should never bother about VAT. For example, if you are selling medical supplies are not vatable. So that stops you from, you don't have to think about VAT. If you are selling vatable supplies, you are allowed to ask the next question and the last question, which is, are my turnovers within, or have my turnovers met the threshold of VAT? Because even if you are trading invertible supplies and your threshold is below 5 million per year, there is no demand that you should register for VAT. But if you have exceeded 5 million, then you have to register for VAT because the VAT Act demands you do that. I also know that there are instances where you might want to voluntarily register for VAT, but this information is important for those who are visited, let's say by some KRA officer, and someone just tell you that we want you to register for VAT. You should be able to tell them it is okay, I am dealing with vatable supplies, but the reason why I'm not gonna register, though you want me to register, it is because my threshold is still below 416,000 per month. But the key issue here is understanding. Let me not preempt. I really look forward to a session on VAT compliance.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks so much, Peter. And we'll definitely arrange that because lots of people are in business. Sometimes out of necessity, they couldn't get jobs, so they started doing something on the side, and they don't know all these things.
Yeah.
So we will have a look at that. Withholding tax. So someone asked, is it final? I did a consultancy and withholding tax was already deducted. Do I still need to file a return? And
Yeah.
then there's
So
another one about filing if you have it on money market funds. Maybe you try to file nil or you try to file and the math was not mathing and you
okay.
realized you had withholding tax certificate from a money market fund. So those two issues, how do you go about them?
Yeah. So yeah, so if you have a not all withholding taxes are final. Some are final, some are not. Those that are final are those that we call them those from qualifying interest or dividends, and those that are final do not require you to declare that income again. Those that are not final, the withholding tax is deemed to be a tax paid in advance. And that means you have to declare that income again, determine the tax position, but now you are allowed to offset against what was deducted at the source. Okay? Yeah, so most of the withholding, majorly the withholding taxes that are final are those from MMFs that are the MMFs that are registered as investment schemes. Um, we also have some interest from trusts that are qualifying. But how you know whether it is qualifying or not, when it is qualifying, meaning that it is a final tax, you don't even get a withholding certificate. Or the same is all, and even if you get it, it may not necessarily be populated in your iTax because anyway, it is final. No one expects you to use that information to do your taxes. But maybe to mention a few things, if you get a withholding from consultancy, let's say you did some consultancy work and you are deducted 5%, and there was a withholding certificate to that effect, you are a doctor or a nurse and you are on locum and you are deducted 5% on your income. You are a contractor and you are deducted 3% on the contractual work. Um, you have some fixed deposit accounts. And when you try to file your return, you are told that you cannot file the return. And when you download the certificate, you notice that it is out of that fixed deposit account. Or all you need is to declare that income. And how do you declare that income? You log into iTax. You go the normal way you go when you are filing the employment returns. You go to the return tab. Down the drop down, there is a tab for file return. You select the file return, then you follow the wizard and you select file income tax for individuals. Then you will be able to download the Excel workbook. So under the Excel workbook, on the basic information part, there is a question that activates sheet that would allow you to declare this income, and we call it income other than employment income. That consultancy income, we call it income other than employment income. So you will select on the question, do you have income other than employment income? If you select, essentially it is usually marked no, but if you select yes, it populates two sheets, a sheet for profit and loss and a sheet for balance sheet. So the sheet for profit and loss is where you will declare the income that you have earned, the gross income. So if it is interest, the gross interest. If it is consultancy, the gross income from that consultancy. Then if there are expenses that you incurred, that sheet has provisions for those expenses. All you need is to input them. You don't have to worry so much about the balance sheet. You can just balance it within a figure, even 1 shilling. Unless it is a company, you don't need to do so much on the balance sheet. For individual, you just need to balance it. You can balance it with one under the assets and one under the liabilities or the financed by section. Then you go ahead and if you have employment income, You fill those employment figures from the P9. If you don't have employment income, you ignore. You go to the last sheet of tax computation, you validate, but before you validate, you need to check what is the tax position. Whatever figure it is, down there under the last sheet, which is tax computation. If it tells you 5, if it is negative, it means it is a safer position for you. If it is a positive figure, it means tax due. And that should bring your act together to just ask yourself if it is telling you positive 5,000, is it a position that you are comfortable with and not necessarily comfortable with, but is that the real position? Because you don't have to be comfortable with paying taxes because you really, no one is comfortable. But I think I fairly answered that. But I will share the procedures. For those who are members of 52 weeks, uh, if you check Peter Dirango, I think I have shared more than once on the procedures of filing this withholding tax.
And thank you so much, Peter. I suppose there are people who are, comfortable paying because, taxes help the country run. But of course, there are always many complaints about how the money ends up being used. So as
Yeah,
we close, Sami has asked if KRA is allowed to access business pay bill records. Maybe you can talk about that. Then I'll ask you one more question that came in.
they are not.
Does KRA, okay,
No, they are not. I've
okay.
seen some people in TikTok saying that saying that KRA are monitoring your pay bill on a daily basis. That is not true. Uh, Lucky enough, the parliament did not include in the finalized finance bill that is about to be assented into act by the president anytime from now. They did not include that section that would have exposed your financial records to KRA. So they don't do that. They would only do that if you are under investigation and there is a court order to that effect to access your information. But that does not mean that you should sit comfortable now that no one is watching you. Just laying some disclaimer.
Mm,
Yeah, if they did that, they would have called you even for money that just passed through your account. Maybe you did some contribution as villagers. You want to do some donation in your local school, and you changad 300,000, and there are many people who do that. We would have
yeah.
seen so many being summoned for such. And
Mm,
I also think there are many money that passes through your account that are not income. So
true.
that would mean they will need to employ similar staff as equal to the citizens. Ama wahakikishe for every 2 citizens there is a tax officer who monitor what is happening every second.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that, Peter. I know in this current situation the country is in, there's a lot of information flying around.
Yeah. Mm.
But yeah, thanks for clarifying. The last one is about freelancers, these people working online. I
Yeah.
work as a freelancer with a foreign company, not
Mm.
based in Kenya. Am I required to pay taxes to register a business,
Yeah.
or should I file as an individual? Because the argument is that, KRA does not even know that I'm working
Yeah.
because I'm not working for a local company. So, what
Mm.
do you advise these people? I know nowadays there's a lot of remote work,
They will know.
Upwork.
They don't know that you are. They will know because if you are working and getting some good money, you will buy a plot, you will buy a car,
Yeah.
and KRA will know when you buy a car because you will pay import duty.
True.
They will know when you buy land because you
Yeah.
will pay. You see, KRA does not have authority to access your bank account,
Mm,
but it does not need authority to access data of those who pay stamp duty and those who own
mm,
land, who have bought land.
mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and those
Yeah.
who are paying huge bills of electricity.
Mm, mm.
Get the point. So
Yes.
don't think that KRA can only catch you because they are accessing your bank account. There are many ways
Mm.
of of being called, but just to put it plainly simple,
Mm,
as far as you are earning some income,
mhm,
whether you are earning it abroad. By the way, the Income Tax Act, our Income Tax Act is source based. And that means that as far as you are a resident, you declare your global income, the income you earn locally and the income you earn abroad.
mm.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if the income is not taxed, and I know here many would have trouble because you can
Mm,
imagine if you've been earning income without suffering pay as you earn,
mm,
then someone tells you to pay 30% of 5 million. Because sometimes you
mm.
get these plenty paying jobs abroad,
Yes.
they give you
Yes.
some good money.
Mm,
You can imagine 30% of even 1 million.
yeah.
That is 300,000. That means
Mm,
you also need to plan. When that 100,000 comes in, don't eat
mm.
all of it. Set
Yeah.
a portion aside because
Mm,
someone might come asking for that tax because the government expects you to pay that tax. So
true.
my key point is even if you are taxed abroad but you live in Kenya, you should
Mm,
declare that income. But the good thing is there is a provision to ensure that you are not double taxed.
yeah.
If it is a country that we have a double taxation agreement with, you are allowed
Mm,
to enjoy the foreign tax credit. If
mm,
it is a country we don't have a double taxation agreement with, again we
mm,
have something similar. We call it
mm.
unilateral tax credit so
Yes.
that you are not taxed twice.
Mm,
It doesn't matter if you are a freelancer, the correct position is you should declare that income as business income. That income is
mm.
deemed business income. But the
Yeah.
good thing is if you keep your records well, you maintain your proper records on expenditures or expenses, then you will
Mm,
be able to deduct those expenses on that income and
yeah.
pay tax on profit.
Mhm.
So usiseme
Yeah.
wewe ni freelancer haulipi tax.
Yeah, yeah, there's a
Yeah,
lot of misconception and misunderstanding. So thank you so much for taking us through this session. Peter, I know we can stay on and talk a lot
yeah,
about tax. But yeah, thank you. And I know we'll plan another one just basically for business people
yeah,
to demystify the VAT, that special table, the e-teams, and all the other issues that are coming up around business and taxes. So tune in for that. And of course, remember you can reach out to Peter anytime. Peter, just give us a closing word and also your contact
yeah.
for people who want to reach out and get more information or
Yeah.
get assistance. Yeah, a final word and how people can get in touch with you.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Felista, for the opportunity to impact. When I do this, uh, I am so fulfilled
Thank
because I
you.
know that I am assisting people and I'm impacting people to be patriotic and to run their business as well. Yeah, so my parting shot would be don't fear tax, seek to understand what taxes affect you, what taxes don't affect you, how can I optimize on my taxes so that I don't pay a penny less to get into trouble with the taxman, and I also don't pay a penny more to deny my business the much needed liquidity. And if you have that, I can assure you there is no reason why you should not seek to comply. I always say that no business should close because they paid tax, because no one is asking you to to pay tax on your capital. Yeah, so that's all. I know there is much we can talk, but I'm quite enthusiastic about the tax subject. And if you want to reach out to me, I am currently running an online tax and finance clinic. Yeah, so if you'd want us to have a discussion around your tax obligations and how you can comply better, you can reach out or book a session. My contact is 0705 304 943 0705 304 943. You can reach out, and I will be able to uh, help you, whether you need a diagnosis on your business,
Yeah.
whether you just want to know whether your tax claim, I should be able to help you on that. So thank you so much
Yeah.
again, Teresa, and I look forward to the next
Uh,
session.
Thank you so much, Peter. And I highly recommend Peter. He helps me with taxes and other business related matters, and he does it really well. So I highly recommend him myself. And yeah, it helps to talk to a tax expert, because then the fear you have about taxes, the anxiety, like you're able to realize that, it's not such a big deal, and you're able to comply and have peace of mind. You won't have to worry whether KRA will come snooping into your account, because you'll already be compliant. So thank you so much. Remember the deadline in 9 days, 30th June. The earlier you file, the better. For yourself. The recording will be available on YouTube. I will send out an email with the recording. And yeah, remember, help is available. If you need to file nil, there are so many resources talking about that. Filing employment income, we've talked about that before. You can find, I think, the videos on 52 weeks. You can find Peter right there with a lot of information that he has shared about taxes. And of course, we'll plan a webinar for those in business, just to get to discuss those VAT, e-teams, and any other business tax issues. So thank you so much for attending. Thank you, Sami, for engaging, and everyone else who was following along, everyone who sent their questions. I hope you are well answered now, and I hope you feel confident enough to file your taxes and even to seek help where you feel that you don't understand. So yeah, don't suffer alone, don't struggle alone. Help is available, and you can get your fears put to rest. So please reach out. Yeah, thank you. Have a good evening, and see you for the next VAT and e-teams and business tax training. We will definitely let you know when it's coming up. So thank you all. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Sami. Thank you for everyone who's joined. We'll see you at another time. Bye bye.